Hey guys, welcome to another Toys and More Tuesday here at the Nose for Gamer. Today I wanted to take a look at some G.I. Joe comics made by Marvel. It was my favorite comic book growing up, and it actually has quite an interesting history with it. It started with a random meeting between the heads of Hasbro and Marvel. Hasbro's getting ready to reintroduce the G.I. Joe toy line, but they're going to shrink them, make them more like the Star Wars action figures. I'm talking to the Marvel dude, and they're like, hey, why don't we tie in a comic book? And the comic book actually led to the creation of Cobra. G.I. Joe originally really didn't have a main nemesis, a main enemy. But because of the comic book and talking with Hasbro, they ended up coming up with Cobra and Cobra Commander. And a lot of the characters actually, they started as toys and they came in the comic book, but some of them, like the Baroness, actually started in the comic book. And later the TV series would occur. Now, some of you are probably familiar with the cartoon TV series. It came after the comic book. And just so you know, some people might not realize that. The first issue actually came out in 1982. And typically, comic books based on licenses like toys, they would be deemed successful if they lasted 2 to 3 years. This one actually lasted 12 years and ran for 155 issues. And a lot of credit goes to the main writer of the series, Larry Hama. Larry, he previously worked as an artist, and you can see his name there. In almost the vast majority of the issues, you'll see he wrote the script. He was primarily an artist, but when Marvel was looking for guys to write the G.I. Joe comic book, a lot of them just passed, and it ended up getting to Larry, who was thrilled. He wanted to be a writer. He said, I would have written a Barbie comic book if they let me. He just wanted to be a writer, and he was thrilled to get this, and it suited him very, very well. He had military experience, but not only that, he kept up to date on military stuff. He also wrote a lot of the file cards. If you ever bought a G.I. Joe action figure, they had a little cool file card on the back. He was the writer of a lot of them. And he actually had a figure that was based on his likeness. If you're familiar with Tunnel Rat, he was based on Larry himself. And actually, speaking of people based on Larry and his family, he made Scarlet. If you're familiar with Scarlet, she was based on his wife. Her personality was. So a lot of interesting there. But Larry deserves a lot of credit. He did a really great job with the scripts. They're more mature than the cartoon, that's for sure. They don't shoot lasers, they shoot bullets. People actually die. There's a lot of treachery going on in Cobra amongst all the leaders, a lot of backstabbing, but Cobra Commander is a lot smarter in these issues than he was portrayed on the cartoon. On the cartoon, he was kind of like a buffoon, and he always lost at the end. But in G.I. Joe in the comic books, there was issues where Cobra reigned victorious at the end of the issue, like when they made Cobra Island, and Cobra Commander was portrayed as more of the brilliant mind, very manipulative, but a little smarter than he was given credit for, and a true nemesis, a true foe. What happened was later on, a lot of the comic books got collected. It started out with Marvel, and later on, I believe IDW picked it up. So Marvel did some of these, ranged from $20 to $25 a piece. This is a great way to collect G.I. Joe comics. They also make these digitally, and you can get basically all the issues. Now you're going to get some really sharp color. It's going to look a lot better, but you're going to miss out on the ads. And for some reason, the very first issue was missing a short story that originally was published, and that is a shame. Another thing about the comic book is that it introduced some characters that if you were just familiar with the toys and the cartoon, you may have missed, like Quinn. Quinn is just a great character. He became one of my favorite characters, and he appeared early on in the series. A really cool guy, had some encounters with Snake Eyes. I would almost read just the early issues just to check out Quinn, and I ended up buying a Quinn action figure. They did end up making one with the, I believe that the second G.I. Joe movie. They made a Quinn action figure. He didn't appear in the movie, but they made a figure, and I ended up buying him. I think there was a comic 3 pack that had him as well. But I mean, this is just a great series. Later on, before they collected the issues, they would make Tales of G.I. Joe during the original run. So if you missed out on the first issue, you could get it again. And I actually got this Tales of G.I. Joe because I wanted to get that missing short story that was missing from the collection. I have all the comic books, but mostly through the collection. But it's very cool. And these are just a lot of fun to read. I would highly recommend. There's Quinn again. just a awesome dude. I would definitely recommend this. This is, as an adult, I actually enjoy it more than when I was a kid. So this isn't, I wouldn't say it's for very young kids, but again, if you enjoy G.I. Joe, this is something that you should definitely look into. And yeah, sometimes it was cheesy, but overall, Larry gave the character some really great personalities. And here's one of the most famous issues, called Silent Intruder. Let's give you the cover here. Right there. That's the issue 21, one of the more famous issues. It actually features no dialogue at all, but it's a really great story, and you got the Storm Shadow Snake Eyes thing going on here. Another character who was really cool in the comic book that I didn't know about because he wasn't in this series was one of the teachers of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes when they were students, and his name was the Soft Master, and there he is right there. That's him right there. He just looks like a gentle old guy, but he's actually very knowledgeable and very powerful. And he just seemed very wise, like almost kind of like a Splinter, if you will, if you're familiar with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But it's just some of those things that you miss out in the cartoon and the figures that they pick up in the comic books. All the characters have good personalities. Some of them, as I said, do die. Bullets, not lasers. And, you just have a lot of great moments. And yeah, sometimes it was cheesy. Let me share with you one of my favorite cheesy moments. A moment that should be immortalized on posters everywhere. I want to say it was issue 47, if my memory serves me correctly. But there's this battle going on in the water. And check out what happens. Snake Eyes takes out a shark. That is just great. How awesome is that? Snake Eyes takes out a shark. So there you go, guys. Toys and More Tuesday, G.I. Joe comic books. I would highly recommend them. Get these collections by IDW. They're making the comic books today. Of course, they had annual series, and nowadays they work a lot with Transformers as well. So thanks for watching. Go ahead, click like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and you can go to Amazon or eBay and order some of these books. They're pretty good. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.